Hello again from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. I'm continuing my video series on the people who died trying to escape from East Berlin. One of the earliest and most publicized and most tragic deaths was that of an 18-year-old bricklayer from East Berlin, Mr. Peter Fechter, who was wounded in the pelvis trying to scale the wall and fell back on the eastern side. No civilians were allowed near him. People from West Berlin tried to toss bandages to him, but he was too weak to catch them. And when he eventually bled to death, the East German border guards were ordered by their superiors to pick up his body. So, according to Wikipedia, he had been born in January 1944 and he bled to death on August the 17th, 1962. He became the 27th known person to die at the Berlin Wall. He died on Zimmerstraße near Friedrich Zimmerstraße border crossing checkpoint Charlie. He finished school at the age of 14 and graduated as a bricklayer. After the Second World War had ended, Weissensee was located in the Soviet occupation zone of Berlin. That's where he had been raised. Fechter's eldest sister had married and then lived in West Berlin, where she was regularly visited by her parents and siblings. Then in August 1961, the border between East Berlin and West Berlin was closed and the Berlin Wall began to be constructed. Fechter's colleague, Mr. Helmut Kulbeck, later stated that he and Fechter had considered defecting to West Berlin for a while and that they had also explored the border installations but had never made a concrete plan for an escape attempt. Shortly after, Fechter was denied a legally sanctioned trip to West Germany by his company despite receiving good judgment. So on August the 17th, 1962, Fechter and Kulbeck attempted to flee from East Germany. The plan was to hide in a carpenter's workshop near the wall on Zimmerstraße and after observing the border guards from there to jump out of a window into the death strip, a strip running between the main wall and a parallel fence which they had recently started to construct. Run across it and climb over the 2-meter wall topped with barbed wire near the Kreuzberg district of West Berlin, near checkpoint, or into the Kreuzberg district of West Berlin, near checkpoint Charlie. They were able to reach the final wall. However, as they began to climb it, the East German border guards fired at them. Kulbeck succeeded in crossing the wall. Fechter was shot in the pelvis while still climbing, while hundreds of people were watching. He fell back into the East German side's death strip, remaining there in view of West German onlookers, including journalists. He screamed for help, but no one was allowed to assist him. Approximately 1 hour later, he bled to death. As a result of his death, hundreds of West Berliners formed a spontaneous demonstration shouting "murderers" at the border guards. The lack of medical assistance for Peter Fechter was attributed to mutual fear. Western bystanders were apparently prevented at gunpoint from assisting him, although according to a report in Time magazine, a second lieutenant of the U.S. Army on the scene received specific orders from the U.S. commandant or commander in West Berlin to stand firm and do nothing. Later it was found out during the trial that any aid attempt from the West had indeed been made impossible. However, according to a report from forensic pathologist Mr. Otto Prokop, Fechter had no chance of survival. The shot in the right hip had caused severe internal injuries. Likewise, the East German border platoon's head stated that he was afraid to intervene because of an incident just 3 days earlier when an East German soldier, Mr. Rudi Arnstadt, had probably been shot by a Western federal policeman. Nonetheless, the East German border soldiers did retrieve Peter Fechter's body an hour after he had died. In March 1997, 7 years after Germany had been reunified and 35 years after Fechter had been shot fatally, two former East German guards, Mr. Rolf Friedrich and Mr. Erich Schreiber, faced manslaughter charges for Fechter's death and admitted that they had shot him after an intense investigation. They were both convicted and sentenced to 20 and 21 months imprisonment on probation. Due to a lack of conclusive evidence, the court was unable to determine which of the three gunmen, one of whom had already died by that time, had fired the fatal bullet. After pleading guilty to the crime and during sentencing, both guards apologized for killing Fechter, saying that if they could take it back, they would, and that they were honest and remorseful for their actions. The cross was placed on the western side near the spot where Fechter was shot and bled to death. At the invitation of Mr. Willy Brandt, who was then serving as the mayor of West Berlin and would later serve as the federal chancellor or prime minister of West Germany, the Yale Russian chorus sang a German translation of Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus near the site in the week following the shooting. On the first anniversary in August 1963, a wreath was placed there by Willy Brandt and U.S. Major General James Polk. After the two Germanys reunited in 1990, the Peter Fechter Stelle memorial was constructed on Zimmerstraße at the precise spot where he had died on the eastern side. And this has been a focal point for some of the commemorations regarding the wall.